Good morning, and what a week it's been in the state of Michigan. From the presidential primary election voting to a state of emergency due to the coronavirus situation. Talk about a news whiplash.
We are a step closer to restoring decency, dignity, and honor to the White House. That's our ultimate goal.
I've signed an executive order declaring a state of emergency in order to maximize our efforts and assist local governments and officials to slow the spread.
Channel 7 Action News Chief Medical Editor Dr. Partha Nandi will help us sort out the coronavirus facts. And later on our Sunday morning program, President and CEO Robin Terry will tell us what's new and what's on tap for the future of the Motown Museum. It's Sunday, March the 15th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Dr. Nandi, thank you so much for joining us today and kicking off our coverage on Spotlight. Hope you're doing well.
Doing really well. Thanks, Chuck. It's my pleasure.
Question, as a medically trained professional, a father, and also a husband, how seriously should the average person be taking all of these health precautions that they literally have been bombarded with?
Well, I think that folks really should take this seriously. You know, in my lifetime, there's been nothing like this. That's a different answer than panicking and buying 5,000 rolls of toilet paper, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that the average person who is not ill and who's not, for example, elderly, who doesn't have heart disease or lung disease or puts them at high risk for immune deficiency, I think we'll do fine. But if we don't reduce the disease burden, right, meaning that we don't reduce the number of folks that are ill, it's going to spread to folks that are going to die from this. So we should take it very seriously. I'm following all the precautions that have been given. But the key is let's not panic because we can beat this.
That's the key word. And in terms of testing, because if people think that they may have it, they may just have the symptoms of a cold or flu, who should get tested and when?
I feel like if you have any symptoms that are suggested, right, the ones that all of us talk about is shortness of breath, fever, and a cough. If you have those, don't go to your doctor's office and just show up, call them and say, what's the process for testing? One of the things are that if you are at risk or you feel like you've been infected, don't go out and just show up somewhere with a bunch of people because you can infect them. Call your doctor's office and see how you should be tested. One of the biggest concerns we have is how quickly we can test. And in fact, today, Chuck, Roche came up with the testing methodology that the FDA has given emergency approval to be able to basically test up to 4,100 folks per day, which is a big, big improvement.
That is
10 times faster.
How taxing is this on the health system right now? Just from what you've seen, I know you can't speak for the entire country, but you're in and out of the hospitals all the time. You're in and out of doctors' offices all the time. Just from what you've seen in the last week or so, how taxing is this?
It's taxing big time, right? This is a once-in-a-lifetime event, in my opinion. I'm not saying that this is never going to happen again, but what happens is that hospitals are made for sick folks, but then all of a sudden, if you inundate the system with people that are ill, I mean, right now in Italy, they're struggling in northern Italy to keep up with it. So it's very taxing. But what's nice is that I'm seeing all the hospital system eminently prepared, right? Eminently prepared for this. University of Michigan has actually had, I think, a unit. I believe it's 21 beds that are prepared for this. So I think it's very taxing. But what's really nice is seeing my colleagues and the professionals in the healthcare system really step up and say, we are ready. We're doing everything we can. That goes from doctors' offices, to clinics, all the way to hospitals. So I'm confident that we can meet this challenge, but it also has to do with everybody else outside the healthcare system saying that we're going to adhere to some of the recommendations to reduce the disease burden.
You mentioned earlier, and we can't overemphasize that people shouldn't panic, but they're hearing constantly through our medium and radio, newspapers, about the number of people that are sick, the number of deaths. but maybe we're not talking enough about the number of people that recover from this. And this is something that you can recover from if treated properly and caught on time, correct?
100%. 100%. We should not panic and go haywire and do things that are illogical, like buy toilet paper and run around and say to do crazy things with people, right? But here is the fact: even though well over 80% of people do fine, there are people who die from this. We can't discount that. This has a higher death rate than the flu as a percentage, right? So we have to take it seriously, adhere to all the recommendations. But please hear me here. We can beat this, right? The World Health Organization said this is a pandemic, but this is a pandemic that can be controlled. That's important to recognize. Really important.
Doctor, I know your time is tight. Two final questions. Have we reached the point, especially with what we're all facing right now, where it's time to reevaluate the medical system, at least in terms of manufacturing of our drugs, our antibiotics? So much of that is done overseas. Is it time to bring that back to America? We have the technology, we have the engineering, we have all of the things. We have some of the top doctors and experts in the world, but we have made so much of that go to other countries.
Incredible point. Here's what I think. We have to develop the infrastructure to be able to handle pandemics and emergencies better. But that comes from all the way to the top, right? The federal level, all the way to local government. We have to do a better job in preparing when these things happen on a faster level. The FDA has to be able to do a better job of improving techniques of testing and medications, right? Because we are the safest system in the planet, but there are certain things that we can do to expedite drugs coming in and testing methods from coming in so that we don't hamper the medical care system. So can we bring manufacturing back? Absolutely. But even if manufacturing stays outside to some degree, we have to have infrastructure available that can be turned on. Right now, what's happening is that the Center for Disease Control is having some trouble. They're reeling from the magnitude of this, and that comes from not, in my opinion, being as planned and ready as we can be. But listen, I think we're reacting very quickly and we're adapting. But I think we can have some measures to get testing approved quicker, medicines approved quicker, and having infrastructure that can be turned on when you have public health crises like this.
All right, simple yes or no. Bottom line, trust our medical experts. Yes or no?
Absolutely, 100% equivocally. They're on your side. They want to help you. They want to save lives.
All right. Dr. Partha Nandi, our chief health expert over here at Channel 7, our chief health editor, thank you so much. I understand you'll be over here a little later today, and thanks for keeping us up to date. Coming up, Robin Terry of the Motown Museum on what we hope are better days ahead. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Spotlight. Robin Terry, she is chairwoman and CEO of the Motown Museum. One of my guests today on Spotlight. Robin, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me back.
All right,
John.
you got through the Motown 60th. Yes. That was a lot of work, but wonderful publicity. I mean, from coast to coast, international, Berry Gordy, all the dignitaries came in. You couldn't have asked for more.
You know what? I agree with you. I think Detroit celebrated Motown 60 in such a fabulous way. We were really excited about the way it was all received, and just couldn't be a better way to end such an important year for the legacy.
Now the challenge, when you're in the position that you're in, is to keep that momentum going into 2020. You already announced the campaign for expansion, $50 million. Huge expansion in terms of physical space from there on West Grand Boulevard. Bring us up to date. How's it going?
Yeah, so let me just say this, that closing out 2019 with Motown 60, with the groundbreaking of the expansion, with the announcement of significant gifts like Berry Gordy's gift of $4 million.
Very significant.
Yeah, and aerial investments out of Chicago. Those were it set the stage really for what we have to do now. And so now the ground is broken and we have moved into 2020. This is about, the year of things happening and just continuing to do the incredible programming that we're doing. And I think you saw the flyover. So we shared for the first time what this amazing campus is going to be about.
And we're showing it as we're talking so people can see it. They can really visualize it.
Yeah.
It was one thing to see the artist renditions, the sketch drawings, but to see this, this really makes you say, okay, that's transforming
It's a transformative
that area of West
project.
Grand Boulevard. And you can see that this will be a fantastic museum.
Well, this is why it was important to us at this stage in the development, in construction, to share with the community the real vision for this project so that they could have the same reaction you did and understand just how transformative it will be, not only for that community, but what it's going to mean to the city of Detroit, to the state of Michigan. And so this was just the right time to do that as we continue such great momentum for it.
I would imagine that helps in terms of fundraising too,
Yeah.
as you're going out, getting other people on board, say, hey, this is where we're at, this is where we still have to get to, but look at this. And does it?
It's important. Yeah, absolutely it does. And it's important for people to see, when we started this project, and it's fair, people have known Motown Museum as a cultural gem in this community for over 35 years. And the vision that we have, we knew it was ambitious, but we also understood that Motown's legacy in Detroit was deserving of this kind of a space, this kind of community space. And so I think for some people it took them a minute to get on board. And the more and more they see this vision and how real it is and the level of support behind it, they feel more comfortable getting involved. So absolutely, moments like this create interest.
From a dollars and cents standpoint, are you close to the finish line or are you comfortable where you're at right now?
Well, you're only comfortable when you're done.
Well said.
So no, we're in the midst of it. But what was exciting about the groundbreaking is we were able to say that we were at 25 million, and now that we can say that we're at 26 million that we've raised, which is really unheard of in such a short window of time. But it speaks to the level of support and confidence that this foundation community, that lead donors like Ford Motor Company, and Dr. Bill Picard, who was one of the first individuals to come on board and say, I'm putting in $1 million. But it says what this community, how much they believe and support this project.
Let's talk about the architectural end of this, because it's really fascinating. Now, you've got the firm. Are they based in Canada? Is that where it is?
So Perkins and Will, they have offices in various
because they do
places in the
so
States.
much.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, huge in what they've done across this globe.
Absolutely.
Is very, very impressive, but certainly people can relate to the fact that they did the new Museum of African American History on the National Mall in Washington. I think they did maybe the Civil Rights Museum across from Coca-Cola in Atlanta, and so many others. And they've done everything in pretty much, whether it's academic or it's the museum realm, they've done it all. And then they've partnered with Rainey Hamilton's firm based here in Detroit.
Absolutely. So we feel extremely honored to be working with Perkins and Will and to have had the opportunity to work with the late Phil Freelon, who is, was just an absolute gem in the world of architecture. And the fact that he was an African American architect was even more special. So that is a tremendous honor for us. But I will say this, Hamilton Anderson has been a partner to the museum for many, many years. And Rainey Hamilton, we have a gem in this community.
Yeah, we do.
We could not have done this project without Hamilton Anderson. And they play such an important role because they help us connect all the dots, all contractors, including the design architects.
And we should emphasize that although Rainey Hamilton and his firm are based here, that he does work all
Rainey
over.
does work all over the country.
All over, and I imagine all over the world at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've been, like I said, tremendously fortunate to have Hamilton Anderson just walking side by side with us as we develop this project.
All right, we need to take a little break. We'll hurry right back with some more questions too. Robin Terry, Chairwoman and CEO of the Motown Museum. Stay with us. Let's talk about the construction for just a second.
Yes.
Ellis Brinker.
Ellis Brinker.
Based here in Detroit.
Yes, absolutely. So Brinker, this project, and I just have to say this, we have been fortunate to attract a really dynamic team to make this project happen. And the architects are a part of it, but construction is equally as critical.
And that's already
and Ellis
started.
Brinker is our construction manager, and they've just done a phenomenal job. So we broke ground on phase 1 of the expansion, which is called Hitsville Next. And it was important to us to start with the community programming and education programming. We want the community to see right away all of the benefits of this expanded space.
So you have that buy-in,
So
and the
that's
community feels as though
absolutely.
they're a key part of this, because let's face it, when this all gets said and done,
Yes.
you're going to get international attention, because people come here from all over the world now
All over the
and
world.
want to
Yes.
see the Motown Museum before they leave to go to do whatever else they're going to do. But you're certainly going to be raising the profile here as well. But
Absolutely. So this was critical that we do this first, and Hitsville Next this is the hub for all the education programs, all the master classes and camps that we do for kids. This becomes the hub, and also a place community can use. We are building on a legacy that is solid, the legacy of Motown, but using that legacy to really inspire the next generation to reach their full potential. So that's really the goal of it. So it's really important at every point, and you'll see this, that the next generation after that, that they can see themselves in it. It's not just about the past. It's taken all the best, all the values and the philosophies and the work ethic and the achievements, but to use that to inspire them to their own greatness.
Do you feel like this is a key anchor in the revitalization of the city of Detroit? The mayor certainly referred to it in his State of the City address.
Absolutely. I mean, people say it to me all the time that Detroit is known for Motown all over this planet. And we see people from all over the planet who make the pilgrimage to Detroit just to come to Hitsville. So there's no question, and there's an expectation, quite frankly, when people come to Detroit, that they have a world-class place to visit and to experience live music. So there's no question this will drive jobs in this community. It will drive small businesses. We're already seeing them popping up around West Grand Boulevard. And what it will do for tourism, you know, there's no limit to what it can do.
And expand on that for just a second, because you know Detroiters, the first question out of their mouth is, what does this mean for us in terms of jobs?
Yes.
Are a lot of the jobs going to
Yeah.
go to Detroit? Certainly we talked about it from the architectural end and the construction end, but people want to know, okay, I'm not doing that, but what's the chance that I'm going to be able to work in that museum?
Yeah, this is a project that'll put about $172 million into that local economy. And we're in a community called Northwest Goldberg. We've made a commitment to look to Northwest Goldberg for the employees that we hire for Motown Museum. Right now, there are about 280 jobs that will be created, 200 in the construction space, and then another 80 or so in full-time equivalent working jobs for people within this new 50,000 square foot campus.
What is it you need if you just look out there and say to people, this is what I need most to make sure that this project gets completed and gets completed on time, on budget?
Absolutely.
So that Detroiters can boast about it.
I would say what we need right now is to close this gap in funding and to just get this project done. We have raised more than half the dollars necessary to get this done. There's a lot of development and dollars, and rightly so, being spread throughout this great city. But this is such a viable project that is going to mean so much to the city, so much to the state. I would encourage any potential donor, corporation, foundation that has not found their way into it, reach out to us. If we haven't contacted you already, get involved in this. There are few times in our lives that we get to be a part of something as transformational and as meaningful as this expansion.
And something that is so well branded
Yeah.
with the city of Detroit.
Absolutely.
You say the word Motown, anybody, anywhere, they immediately know what you're talking about and where
Yes.
you're talking about it. And there are few brands that have that type of single name recognition in the world.
And it's one of those things people say to me all the time, Robin, what took so long? I believe all things happen in divine order, and they happen when they're supposed to. But our moment is now. And we have to seize this moment and make this thing happen for all of us.
All right, final question. From a competitive standpoint, there are museums opening up all around the country and all around the world.
Yeah.
Every day, somebody comes up with a great idea.
Yeah.
The most recent one that I heard is Nashville, Tennessee. I think
Yes.
this summer they're opening up, I think it's
A music museum, yes.
African American Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And every so often you have a different type of thing. Museums are big and they attract people and everything. Does that concern you? Does it worry you that every time you look around, another city is opening up a great attraction? Or is it like,
You know
so
what?
That's their city, that's their thing, we're
Yeah.
doing our thing.
Museums are critical to vibrant communities. That is that's a proven fact. And if you want to have vibrant communities where people live, they play, then you've got to have museums. So no, that doesn't bother me at all. What I will say is that Detroit, it also doesn't bother me that there are other music museums that have some Motown in them, right? The unique opportunity that we have in Detroit is there is no other museum that has its original birthplace intact the way Detroit has Hitsville and Studio A.
Right.
None. Even our dear friends at Stax. Stax had to rebuild the studio, but we didn't. Motown's never left the city. And so there's something very special about what we have, and the world recognizes that when they make that pilgrimage here. And you can't find that anywhere else. So we don't mind.
All right, we're rooting for you, no doubt about it. And keep us up to date. We know that this is a marathon, not a sprint, but we know that we're going to see the completion of it all.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll be right back with a special Spotlight programming note. And finally today, we had planned to bring you an interview with Detroit Urban League President and CEO N. Charles Anderson. But due to the coronavirus situation and the state of emergency, his big annual Distinguished Warrior Dinner has been postponed. We'll share that interview with you at a later date when the dinner is hopefully rescheduled. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week and stay safe.